Good morning, everybody. I see a lot of green, which is great. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you all for being here on this rainy day. My name is Reverend Emily Bruce. I'm the minister of this congregation, and whether this is your first time or your 1,000th time or somewhere in between, I want to welcome you here this morning. We're very grateful to have you with us for our worship service. As Unitarian Universalists, we are a people of diverse beliefs, but we share a common faith, a faith that every person is worthy of love, a faith that what we do in and for this world right now really matters, and a faith that we are connected by an interdependent web to each other and to our earth. So whoever you are and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here this morning. In a moment, Amanda Pine, who is our worship associate, will lead us in lighting our chalice. But first, I do have a few announcements as always. First of all, I want to thank Carmen. Is Carmen here? Where is she? She's not here. You know what? She deserves a right to sleep in because of, and also Deb, Carmen Gart and Deb Herlihy for their facilitation and execution of our Zumba dance party on Friday night in the parish house, which raised $1,500. Which we will split with the Plymouth Coalition for the Homeless. It was a fantastic event. It was full. There were so many people dancing in that room. I've never seen anything like it. I've never taken a Zumba class before. Oh, it's hard, but it was great, and I hope we do it again. So thank you, Deb, and thank you, Carmen. Hopefully she'll hear this in the ether. We're very grateful for that. This is the third Sunday of Stewardship Month, so we will be having a few testimonials today in worship. Also, there will be a table during coffee hour. Carmen and Karen, raise your hand, and Valerie, who's not here, and Heather Timilty, who's also not here. That's all right. Talk to Karen. If you have questions about stewardship, about filling out your pledge, about where we are financially, how we're doing so far, look for her at coffee hour. Also today from 1 to 3, in the Beale House, we are doing a crafts day for the residents of the Baymont Hotel. If you don't know what I mean by that phrase, there are a number of refugees and homeless and displaced folks that are living in the Baymont Hotel down there behind Cancun. So we're inviting up a bunch of families to do a day of crafts with us. So that's happening today from 1 to 3. I think we're good with volunteers, but we could always use a couple extra hands. So Linda, raise your hand. If you're interested in helping out, talk to Linda during coffee hour. Thank you. And there's Carmen. Sorry, I just gave a whole Zumba shout out and you weren't here to hear it, but there's Carmen, so thank you, Carmen. Coming up on Saturday, April 13th is our annual lasagna dinner and auction. So if you like lasagna and if you like to bid on stuff and you like to win stuff and you like to have a good time, I hope you'll consider joining us. Everything was in the newsletter last week. It will continue to be in the newsletter every week. But see us if you have questions during coffee hour. We hope you'll either bring a lasagna, or you can bring a lasagna or pay an entrance fee. And then there's a big live auction and a silent auction. It's tons of fun. And it's one of the biggest fundraisers of the church year. So Saturday, April 13th, lasagna dinner in Sampson Hall. Please come. Finally, I know some of you who have Comcast email addresses are not getting the newsletter. We've heard a lot about this. This is just people who have Comcast email addresses. I'm putting this in the announcement because hopefully you'll hear this and you'll share it with other Comcast email users. The reason you're not getting the newsletter is not because of something we're doing, it's something on the Comcast end. So I know several people keep calling Kathy Scully in the office asking her to fix it. She can't because it's a Comcast issue. So I just want to say that out loud. I know some people have gotten a free Gmail address in order to get the newsletter that way. But whatever's happening there is on the Comcast end. So if one of you is a Comcast email user and you figure it out, please tell us. We will share that information because the newsletter is the #1 best way to find out what's going on in the church, and it comes out every week, and if you're not getting it, it's really hard to keep up. So again, Comcast, not us. But if you figure it out, tell us. Thank you, Kathy. In the meantime, you can go to kingstonuu.org, and in the newsletter page, she's posting every week's newsletter there. So that's another way to get it. Thanks, Kathy. All right, that's it for announcements. Would you all join me in taking a deep breath in and out? Get comfortable in your seat If you haven't yet silenced your cell phones, please do so now. Give yourself and everyone else in the room a digital Sabbath for the next hour while we are in worship together. Again, take a deep breath in and out. This hour is for you, this time of rest and reflection and meditation and worship is for you. The world will be waiting after this service is over. So let's do it one more deep breath in and out. And may our worship begin. Amanda will lead us in lighting our chalice.
Good morning. I'm Amanda Pine, and I'm a member of the Music Committee. This morning, we light our chalice with these words by Reverend David Breeden. Welcome to this place where certainty transforms to questions. This place that takes what is and imagines what can be. Welcome to this space where what was fixed begins to shift, where rigidity embraces unfolding as we join in the dance of transformation. Welcome to this moment of change where together we transfigure and transcend together. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit for our opening hymn, number 1029, Love Knocks and Waits for Us to Hear, in the Teal Hymnal.
As I have said, it's Stewardship Month this month, so we're hearing a few testimonials in service from our members about what they believe and why they give to First Parish. And now Kelly Brotzman will read some words from her husband, Bob Erlandson, who could not be here today.
Good morning. So you'll have to just imagine my much taller, wholly adorable husband in my place. Wow, this has been some week. I want to thank my wife, Kelly, the most amazing, brilliant, beautiful, and talented woman I have ever met, and who is right now glowing neon magenta, for reading this statement on why I support First Parish Church while I am taking care of my family. I always enjoy talking to people about our church. When they ask, it can feel a little awkward, because what is a church if it doesn't force God into everything? But I am able to share with them how the most important part of any church is the feeling of community that First Parish Kingston represents. When I first started coming to First Parish, it was for my kids. I wanted them to have a grounding in religious thought that wasn't dogmatic. I had left God years before for my own reasons, but I knew that my children needed something to build their own belief systems on. That was all nice and good for my boys, whether they believe it was or not, but the best aspect of coming to First Parish ended up being the relationships I forged with other members. I have met the most unique, caring, and creative souls who are just magnetic. As I became more and more comfortable in the community, I myself started to feel safe enough to help me mend my damaged soul and explore my own creativity. I can't imagine any other place where I could have dived into my inner no-no talente or any of the other characters living rent-free in my head. This community is so willing to have fun and is a warm and welcoming environment for everyone. I've been able to live outside the box with this community and have benefited greatly from being part of it. And then you stumble. Personal losses, relationship challenges, and all of the myriad trauma that can and will enter our lives. At that point, you realize what this community really means. I cannot imagine navigating through some of these difficult times without the sane and cogent words of innumerable members of this community. This community is a touchstone for so many people, not just the members who are here in the pews every day, but also those who come in on their own just to be replenished. Why do I support First Parish? You might as well ask. Why do I smile and laugh? It makes me feel good and complete. Being able to return the favor of support, financial as well as emotional, is an honor. I look forward to our future. I'm sure those of you who have been here for years feel the same kind of thing I am sensing. There's something in the air. It definitely has something to do with Reverend Emily, but I don't want to put all the responsibility on her shoulders because this is something that has been simmering for years now, waiting for the right set of circumstances to emerge. I believe we are at a moment of transcendence, and I am so excited to see where this community goes. I don't see a ceiling. This is why I support First Parish, and I hope you feel the same because it truly rocks.
Thank you, Bob. And thank you, Kelly, for sharing Bob's words. Very, very moving. So, today in our service, we are picking up the thread from last week's service, talking about the proposed changes to Article 2 of our UUA bylaws, changes that will be voted on in June at our annual General Assembly conference. So if you weren't here last Sunday, or even if you were, I'm just going to briefly unpack what I'm talking about, and then we'll get to the good stuff. So Article 2 is the second section of the Unitarian Universalist Association's bylaws. Like we have our bylaws, they have theirs. And those this Article 2 contains in part the 7 principles, which are printed on the back of your order of service. Now, the UUA rules stipulate that Article 2 needs to be reviewed and possibly revised every 15 years. So we are at the culmination of the 15-year cycle right now, because the study commission that did the most recent revision or review is proposing a significant revision. For the first time since the 80s or so, the first significant revision, which is replacing those 7 principles with 6 value statements centered around love. So if you look at the image on the front of your order of service, that is the graphic that they are leading with to talk about these 6 values. So last week, what we did in worship is we looked at 3 of those values and sort of unpacked what they might mean for us, what it might mean to live those values in our world. We covered justice, equity, and interdependence. And today we will continue that with talking about pluralism, which is a mouthful, by the way, pluralism, generosity, and transformation. And the point of doing this in worship is to give all of you a chance to meditate on each of these values, to see how they may speak to what grounds you in this faith tradition, whether you've been a UU your whole life or you're just starting to wade in. What do these values mean to you? What do they mean to your life? What do they mean to your sense of morals and ethics? And how can they teach you to become the person that you want to be in our world today? That's why we're doing this in worship. So, we're going to start with pluralism. And I know few of us would argue that we are a pluralistic faith tradition, right? I mean, we've got Christians, we've got atheists, Jews and Buddhists, we've got pagans and Wiccans, we've got agnostics, and we've got people that are spread out across that entire long spectrum in all the different places you can be, right? We know, as early Unitarian Francis David is quoted as saying, we know that we don't have to think alike to love alike. That is the cornerstone of our tradition. And unlike many other religious traditions, we are not bound by a creed of uniform belief. There's no statement that we all have to say is true. Those of you, maybe Catholics or Episcopalians, might remember the Nicene Creed. We don't have a creed in this tradition because we are across the spectrum of belief, but there are other things that bind us together in community, like our belonging to each other. It's the covenants that we form and we agree to abide by, the accountability to and the responsibility for our place, each of us, in this web of existence that draws us together and that makes us a community of faith, a community of justice, and most importantly, a community of love. Those are the ties that bind us, not beliefs, but behaviors, covenants, responsibility, and accountability, and, of course, love. So, with all of that in mind, Amanda will give us a reading now. It's one of my longtime favorites. I actually had this read at my ordination. That's how much I love this reading. That I think beautifully describes what it means to be in a pluralistic community like ours.
That Which Holds All by Nancy Schaefer. Because she wanted everyone to feel included in her prayer, she said right at the beginning several names for the holy. Spirit, she said, Holy One, Mystery, God. But then, thinking these weren't enough ways of addressing that which cannot fully be addressed, she added particularities, saying, Spirit of life, Spirit of love, Ancient Holy One, Mystery we will not ever fully know, Gracious God, and also spirits of this earth, God of Sarah, Gaia, Thou. And then, tongue loosened, she fell to naming superlatives as well. Most creative one, greatest source, closest hope. Even though superlatives for the sacred seemed to her probably redundant, but then she couldn't stop. One who made the stars, she said, although she knew technically a number of those present didn't believe the stars had been made by anyone or thing, but just luckily happened. One who is an entire ocean of compassion, she said, and no one laughed. That which has been present since before the beginning, she said, and the room was silent. Then, although she hadn't imagined it this way, others began to offer names. Peace, said one. One my mother knew, said another. Ancestor, said a third. Wind, rain, breath, said one near the back. Refuge. That which holds all. A child said water. Someone said kunyin, then womb. Witness. Great kindness. Great eagle. Eternal stillness. And then there wasn't any need to say the things she thought would be important to say. And everyone sat hushed until someone said, Amen.
We are delighted to give you a stewardship twofer today as part of our month of testimonials. Bob Koska will now share his thoughts and feelings with us. Thank you, Bob.
Good morning. I'm going to ask people in this congregation, because I don't have a memory, to remind me that the next time I do this, I don't follow Kelly Bob. If I had thought this through, I would have insisted on going first. You might notice that the tone of my words are going to be somewhat different than the tone that Kelly gave you. Kelly told us how wonderful we are. And believe me, of anybody in this congregation, I know how wonderful we are. I'm going to give you sort of a different take on it. When I first came to First Parish in 1980s, I would throw some cash in the basket each Sunday, and no one ever spoke to me about financing the church until the annual canvass. That in itself was a relief from the weekly second collections that I was used to as a recovering Catholic. I was willing to let the veteran members of the congregation carry this burden, as I acclaimed myself to what is truly meant to be a UU. I signed the book and began to pledge money to support First Parish. As I became more deeply involved in church governance and became aware of the details of running a church, I continually increased my pledge. I've noticed that as my needs change, First Parish was always there for me, and my pledge began to match my commitment to the success of our mission. Fast forward to the past 5 years. You have been with me in the long, painful journey of helping someone through the terror of Alzheimer's disease. In the process, though retired, I substantially increased my pledge to help First Parish cope with the loss of the cell tower revenue. I've been determined to ensure that we are here and functioning for the next person who needs what I receive from you. Though I have lost the income from Lynn's pension, I've continued my pledge going forward. I'm asking you to step up your commitment. No one here expects people to tithe the 10% of your earnings to the church. But pledging 2% to ensure that First Parish will be there for everyone who has this community seems to be worth it. No one here expects or wants parishioners to risk financial hardship in order to support the church. But many of us, and I only realized this fact when I finally stepped up, can afford to raise our commitment to the vital work that we do. As chair of the parish committee, that's what the governing board used to be called, I negotiated the cell tower contract with Sprint. I remember when bringing it to the congregation for ratification, I expressed my wish that the revenue from the tower be segregated for special purposes and not added to the general operating budget. I was aware of the terms in the contract that allowed Sprint to withdraw from their commitment to us, and I didn't want us to be in the place that we are now. What happened, what I was in fact worried about, is the double-edged nature of that kind of windfall. Parishioners saw the revenue from the cell tower, the endowment, and assumed that we were fine fiscally, and pledges stagnated for decades. After all, we were paying our bills. We are now at a crossroads. Will those of us who can afford it step up and increase our pledges to finance our wonderful minister, staff, and programs, or will we bleed our endowment until we cease to exist as a congregation? My hope is that those who can will increase their pledge to at least match the cost of membership in the congregation. Do the math. Budget divided by membership. I've also learned that what we individuals budget for is a reflection of our values. I value this place and all of you in it. My pledge reflects that. What's this place worth to you?
Thank you, Bob. As we move on to the next value of generosity, I don't want you to think that we're only talking about money, although clearly both of the Bob's testimonies today really held that up beautifully. But there are so many ways to be generous in this life. So I've chosen a second reading this morning to illuminate this that speaks to the generosity of opening ourselves up to others, opening our doors to the stranger, welcoming those fleeing danger and poverty, and really, what does it mean to be generous to the wider world? Those are the questions I want you to think about, especially in a time when so many in our world are focused on exclusion, restriction, persecution, and in some cases, outright annihilation. So let the words Amanda is about to give us speak to the many ways we are, each of us, called to be generous in our hurting world today.
Refugees by Brian Bilston. They have no need of our help, so do not tell me these haggard faces could belong to you or me should life have dealt a different hand. We need to see them for who they really are, chancers and scroungers, layabouts and loungers, with bombs up their sleeves, cutthroats and thieves. They are not welcome here. We should make them go back to where they came from. They cannot share our food, share our homes, share our countries. Instead, let us build a wall to keep them out. It is not okay to say these are people just like us. A place should only belong to those who are born there. Do not be so stupid to think that the world can be looked at another way. Now I'd like to read that again, but from the last line, working up to the first. The world can be looked at another way. Do not be so stupid to think a place should only belong to those who are born there. These are people just like us. It is not okay to say build a wall and keep them out. Instead, let us share our countries, share our homes, share our food. They cannot go back to where they came from. We should make them welcome here. They are not cutthroats and thieves with bombs up their sleeves, layabouts and loungers, chancers and scroungers. We need to see them for who they really are. Should life have dealt a different hand, these haggard faces could belong to you and me. So do not tell me they have no need of our help. Thank you. One more time. When we give, we say yes to something we value. In this congregation, we take up an offering each week to say yes to the values of our UU faith and yes to this beloved community. Please give as you are able. Today's offering will be gratefully received. Our offering anthem today is Love Has Already Won by Jason Shelton.
Of hate and terror, in the sinful lie of
Thank you, choir. So now we arrive at the value of transformation. And I chose this value to go last on purpose because personally, it speaks so much to what it means to me to be a Unitarian Universalist. So much of my life, and yours too, I can assume, has been a little different than the plans I made for it. Is that true for some of you too? You chart out a course, you make all the plans, and then you find yourself going that way. It happens to all of us. Also, like some of you, the church of my childhood was all about rules and creeds, and don't do that, and that's wrong, and only this way is right, etc., etc. I don't miss it, to be honest. Thank you for that. When I became a Unitarian Universalist, the idea is that A, there are no creeds here, and B, the doubt and the questions are sort of the point, kind of freed me up in a way that I did not know it was possible to be free in a church, to be honest. God wasn't this harsh, judgmental taskmaster. God could be whatever I wanted God to be, or nothing at all. The freedom to explore, to ask questions, to seek wisdom from many traditions, and build a spiritual life and a set of values that was right for me, truly transformational. And the fact that I could do all of that while also being held in a community of love and belonging, well, I truly don't know why there aren't more UUs, to be honest. I know we're not perfect, but we're pretty great, right? Yeah. Because our faith calls us to be transformed in so many ways. Not change to be a different person, but to be open to a lifelong evolution of thought and belief. Not change so we can be right, whatever right is, but change to be made whole. A life of faith, whether it is religious, spiritual, humanist, or something else, is a life of being open to transformation. And it's difficult, right? Transformation's hard. It is so much safer to stay where you are, to keep your beliefs static. You'll certainly stay secure there and safe, and nothing will ever change. But the fullness of life is denied to those who want to stay in the same place. That's the truth. In order to transform, you have to be willing to surrender to the change that's being called forth in you. You have to be willing to learn that your story is one of many, and others, especially those who are different than you, have something to teach you about what it means to be human. You have to be willing to let go of what was in order to make space for what can be. Ralph Waldo Emerson, that great complicated sage, once said this, quote, "Nothing is secure but life, transition, the energizing spirit. People wish to be settled, but only as far as they are unsettled is there any hope for them. Only as far as they are unsettled is there any hope for them." We all like to say that the only constant is change, right? When we say that, we're usually talking about other people in the outside world. But the only constant in us is change, too. The journey of my life thus far has been a struggle to accept, to understand, to accept, and to surrender to that truth. But the deeper I am able to go with it, the deeper and more willing I am allowing myself to be transformed, the more exhilarating and meaningful my life has become. How have you been transformed throughout your life? How many times, I should say, have you been transformed throughout your life? And how might you be called to transformation now in ways large and small? Because times are changing, they always are. We can change too. In fact, I think we must. So let us embrace our unsettled world and our unsettled selves, not as problems to be overcome, but as invitations to change. Let us be transformed by our experiences and each other so that we can more fully live. And in the process, may we create the world that right now we only see in our dreams. May it be so. Amen. Friends, please rise in body or in spirit for our closing hymn, number 131 in the gray hymnal, "Love Will Guide Us." Friends, as we extinguish our chalice, may we embrace the plurality of our faith, our ability to be generous with ourselves and each other, and the calling to be transformed so that we may transform the world around us. Go in peace, and amen.